Yo, we'll be seeing Marvel vs. Capcom 2 next year. What up, ladies? This is your boy MikeOfAllTrades coming to you this morning with a video that was sparked from a conversation that we had last night on the Chill and Chat podcast. First things first, if you like to see, make sure you smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're not, and turn those notifications as we make our way to 2K. But without further ado, let's get into it. So, during our year in review podcast last night, myself and Akuma Rev and Welcome to Die and pretty much everybody who who's involved in the retro FGC community for Arcade 1-Up popped into the stream or popped into the call last night. And one of the questions we were talking about, one of the things we were looking forward to in 2022 was Marvel vs. Capcom 2. And so we talked about, like pricing and how we want to see it. And Welcome to Die came up with, they came up with an idea of like exclusivity for a year with Arcade 1-Up. And then everybody else could buy it and would it sell, yada, 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 yada. I started thinking after the stream, could we actually see Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on Arcade 1-Up in 2022? And so, like, sitting back and thinking about it, everybody's saying it's hard. If you try to go find a copy of Marvel vs. Capcom 2 right now, it's about $250 on eBay or on Amazon or in your mom and pop stores down in Milwaukee. My friend showed me a picture of it. They had Marvel vs. Capcom 2 for the PS2 for $180, and that's not a way for people to get in the door. You know what I mean? Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is a beloved fighting franchise. 3v3, it brings feelings of nostalgia and good feelings, whether you were beating people up or if you were, filthy casual, getting beat down by really good people in the arcades, essentially putting your quarters on the glass. For me, it brings up memories and nostalgia of Aladdin's castle and going in there and running that city from when I got in there until it was time for me to leave, and then having my coworkers get mad at me the next day because they had to see me at work. But it's really hard. You can't it used to be on PS3 and on 360. You can't download it from those services anymore because they were delisted. You can't get it on Steam, and the only way you're playing it on like Fightcade or Null DC Bear is if you're playing it through nefarious means. Enter Arcade 1-Up. Okay. Now, Arcade 1-Up has an established working history with Disney and the Marvel aspect of that, and clearly they work with Capcom. They gave us, they gave us Marvel superheroes and X-Men Children of the Atom and the Punisher in one cap. And I remember losing my crap, not just because it had Thanos on the side, because I love Thanos, if you guys can see in the back, but because, there was potential for Marvel vs. Capcom. And then they gave us Marvel vs. Capcom. And not only did they give us Marvel vs. Capcom, but they gave it to us online. Okay? So, you have characters in that game, X-Men characters, Wolverine, and Iron Man and stuff like that, that Marvel and Disney would have had to sign off on. Enter X-Men. I remember John D being on an episode of, I want to say, the Weekly Retro Party. Shout out to them. You know what I mean? And by the way, if you're not following UAG and the Weekly Retro Party, you should be following all of us. But I remember John D saying that, like, just to get the X-Men cabinet out, they had to work with Disney, Capcom, with Marvel, for Data East. They had to work magic to get it done. But it got done. So, honestly, there might not be that much work for Arcade 1-Up to have to actually put in to be like, hey, we'd like to release, we'd like to release Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Yes, it will run on Naomi and everything else. Naomi's I'm on backwards, BT dubs. But it could be done. I think that, I genuinely think that we get Marvel vs. Capcom 2 in 2022. The caveat to that is, I think it comes on the Arcade 1-Up. Welcome to Die said that there'll be some exclusivity, like a time frame. Remember how GTA 5 had GTA Online for like a year or something like that, or a month or something? It was something dumb like that, and Microsoft paid exorbitant amounts of money for it. I think Arcade 1-Up could do the same thing, where they'd be like, okay, hey, listen, we'll make X amount of units, and we guarantee that they'll all sell. The only problem with that is everybody, you're kind of making everyone buy a Marvel vs. Capcom cabinet, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 cabinet. You know, eventually, and this is a bigger thing, and this is why this is cool, because eventually, if they could pull that off and we get Marvel vs. Capcom 2 in 2022 from Arcade 1-Up, that might open the door for it to return back on platforms, you know? And even if it is a time exclusivity deal, you know what I'm saying, where we can all just play together, isn't it worth it? Isn't it worth buying a 3/4 scale arcade cabinet to have in your home to play online and play Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Marvel vs. Capcom, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Street Fighter, Marvel Superheroes, X-Men Children of the Atom, to like have like those 6 games in a cabinet, and then just be able to play online. You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't need to own an X-Men vs. Street Fighter cabinet to play X-Men Children of the Atom. You know, you wouldn't need to own a Marvel vs. Capcom cabinet to play Marvel vs. Street Fighter online. You know what I mean? I think it's doable. I do. Arcade 1-Up, you know, listen, you guys have pulled some rabbits out of your hat. And I don't think it's something that's going to be announced directly at CES next week or in February, whenever the hell they like to announce their games. But I think Marvel vs. Capcom 2 will be next year's holiday title for Arcade 1-Up. I think that's their big ace in the hole. If you kind of follow the release pattern of Arcade 1-Up stuff, it usually goes Street Fighter, Marvel, Street Fighter, Marvel, Street Fighter, and now it's Marvel's turn again. And technically, yeah, they release a head-to-head cocktail cabinet for Marvel vs. Capcom, but that's just a cocktail cabinet. That's not like a new release, you know? Street Fighter has been released in many forms, you know, partycades and cocktail tables and 3 different cabinets. Marvel's only had 2. I think that it lines up to where it's time, 2022, and give the people what they want. I don't know anybody at Arcade 1-Up's ever going to hear this or watch this. Scott, Cyrus, John D, yourself, you know what I mean? I don't know if y'all are ever going to watch this, and I know this is a pipe dream. But if anybody can make Marvel vs. Capcom 2 happen for the fight game community, and for anybody who just loves Marvel vs. Capcom 2, do your best to get this cabinet. Get this cabinet made. You know, put it in, make it like it used to be. Put it in a big blue. You know what I mean? Like, send some to celebrities. Michael B. Jordan went on a campaign on Twitter talking about he would love to see Marvel vs. Capcom 2. And I am in complete agreement with him. You should make that happen. You should do your best, you know? I don't honestly see, now that, you know, they have control of the X-Men and whatnot, there's no reason why we can't get this game now. So, in 2022, I think it's more feasible for us to see Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Now, then you get the questioning of price point. With all the Arcade 1-Ups coming out at darn near $750, which we also discussed last night. If you haven't watched that video, it'll be right here. And the price point came up, was like, well, what are you willing to pay for Marvel vs. Capcom 2? And for me, that's not a fair question, because I'll spend the money because it's Marvel vs. Capcom 2. But for the average consumer, I don't know. It's not so much. Like, let's be real about this. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 isn't something that you can just go put on a Walmart shelf. Especially with Walmart liking to put things on clearance. Now you can put it on Best Buy shelves or maybe Targets. Walmart might be the issue because everybody's going to be like, oh, well, you know, let's wait until we get the clearance deal, etc., etc. With this cabinet, I genuinely think they should probably just do order online. Like, real talk. Just to be real about it. You know what I mean? I think that if they do put it out, it's probably going to be about $700-800. But it's Marvel vs. Capcom. So, and that's not an excuse. I'm like, oh, well, because the prices are so high and blase. Dude, listen, we're not in their marketing. We're not in their portfolios. We don't know the exacts on the profits that they make, et cetera, et cetera. Like, that's not our business. My business is purchasing a cab, loading it up, and having fun. And that should be yours too. Look, if you want to let Capcom and DC, not DC, Disney, it's early when I'm recording this. If you want to let Marvel, Disney, and Capcom know that you want to see an arcade 1-up from them, or just the game back in general, yo, share this video. Yo, you know what I'm saying? Like the video, comment below. Yo, tell these people, like, hey, we want this, and we want to see it soon. Because, honestly, there's nothing that should be stopping this game from being ported in various places. You know? Anyway, those are my thoughts. I'm MikeOfAllTrades. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to hit that like button on the way out. Subscribe if you're not to the channel for more fighting game and arcade news and opinions, because these are just my opinions, you know. But I will say one more thing though, yo, with this whole rumor and this whole freaking talk about, you know what I'm saying, pro lines or whatever else, yo, wouldn't it be great to have a Marvel vs. Capcom 2 pro line? Wouldn't it? Think about it a little bit. Anyway, I'm MikeOfAllTrades. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Later.